What is going on, my beautiful people? I hope you guys are having a dang amazing day today. It is currently very windy out here. We're with my cat, but we are going to be, it might rain on us, so we're gonna make this video very quick. What we're going to talk about in this video is being able to serve people like God served us, and how that actually frees you from that anxiety, fear, nervousness, because you stop focusing on yourself and you start focusing on other people, and that can help you walk about in your life so much better with the weight of the world off of your shoulders, but also help you connect as best as possible. I remember when I was at Walmart, I used to work at Walmart when I was younger, and I read this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was a very, very popular book. And in the book, he said that one of the most important things that you could do when you're talking to somebody else is listen to them. Ask them questions about themselves. Really care about them. Really genuinely actually want to get to know them. And he said, he gave an example that he went to this party and there was a whole bunch of people talking and, you know, going back and forth, a whole bunch of people that were trying to say the most amazing thing, trying to say all these stories or whatever it might be the most extravagant person. And there was this girl that was there that he was friends with. And at the end of the party, he asked, who was the most interesting person to you? And she said, the one person was the person that was asking her. She didn't know what had happened, but she was like, oh yeah, it was this guy. And he realized that this guy was the only person that would ask her about herself, genuinely get to know her. To her, that was the most interesting person. And for a lot of us, the most interesting person, the person that we like the most, is the person that genuinely cares about us. Not saying that they have to ask us about everything all the time, but if they genuinely care, they don't have that ego, they don't have this, I want to be better than you, I need to prove myself, then all of a sudden we have the opportunity to connect. That is the same way that Jesus cared about us. He wasn't caring about himself. And there's a beautiful verse. It's in Philippians 2:3-8 that we're really gonna just like, this is the main heart of this here. In this verse, it says, firstly, it says that do nothing out of vainglory or strife, and in lowliness of mind, esteem others as higher than yourself. That is a beautiful one. It also says, look every man not onto his own things, but onto the things of others. And then it gives an example of Jesus, and it said, for this is the mind that Jesus had for us to also have within us. But it says that Jesus came down and made himself of no reputation and came here to serve us. And what a beautiful thing that freaking is. And I think that's really the heart of what we can take into our lives, and what you can start to see other people in, but then also just see yourself in as a servant. So I was trying to think about this because it says, in lowliness of mind, esteem others as higher than yourself. At first I was like, okay, whoa, that's kind of like tough to swallow, because it's like, I would understand if it said making each other is seeing each other as equal, but it says above ourselves. This is Paul talking to people at the time, telling them to esteem others as higher than themselves. And what I really dove into it with is that he's saying this because he knows that the baseline principle is to love others as ourselves, like Jesus talks about. But because we're so egotistical, we have such a human nature that wants to go and think about ourselves, think about what we got going on, think about all that stuff. Paul is telling us to overcorrect. That's the way to get out of that ego, out of that pride, is to overcorrect. Like you're kind of like driving a car and you turn it, it's kind of swaying right, so you got to turn it more left to get it back on center. So if he's telling us to esteem others as higher than ourselves, which means to treat others as higher than ourselves, to act like they are higher than ourselves. And the perfect example for this is Jesus washing the disciples' feet. So also in that verse it says that he made himself of no reputation. And this is a beautiful one for us too, when we think about our pride, wanting to look a certain way, wanting people to perceive us a certain way. But he made himself of no reputation. There's a quote unquote, people talk about that when they were in the Last Supper, that a whole bunch of the disciples were kind of arguing back and forth about who's going to wash the feet. Now, we all know that Jesus ended up being the one that decides. So it starts off with the verse saying that he knows in the Last Supper, it says that he knows that he is of God, that he is the Son of God, that he's come down, and all that he has all this knowledge.